well, let's get started, guys. Welcome, everyone, to our Elevate Matsu Business Coalition meeting this month. We're really excited about this one. I've been really excited to have this conversation with these gentlemen here. My name is Jenny Willardson. I am a commercial broker here in the Valley, and so I'm the founder and organizer of this coalition. We do a monthly-ish meeting where we talk about ways that we can improve things for the business community. So today our conversation is going to be about AI, artificial intelligence, because we know that this is moving at a very rapid pace and it's here to stay. And so we're trying to figure out how we as business owners can embrace it and use it to our advantage. So these guys have a lot of great insight to share with us today. So let's start first. Oh, before we begin, though, I wanted to recognize our sponsors for the meeting today is Matanuska Valley Federal Credit Union Commercial Lending Department. So thank you so much for being our sponsors. We appreciate your support. All right, so let's move on to our discussion here. So let's start by having you introduce yourself and what kind of your experience is with AI.
Okay, perfect, thank you. Well, first of all, thank you for inviting me here. You know, this is great. I've never been here, so this is great. My name is Carlos Machuca. I work for SBDC, that's the Small Business Development Center. I'm the Anchor Center Director. I'm with Trish here. She actually also invited me here, and she's the Wasilla Palmer Matsu area director. So my experience with I was a professional before I came to SBDC. I was working as a managerial consultant for over 25 years. I experienced it seems like all technology nowadays, but the beginnings of artificial intelligence. And primarily what we were doing, we were working with ERP system, which are this real sophisticated, you're probably familiar with, the sophisticated software system that they manage an enterprise's HR, payroll, accounting, and all that. Well, at that time, we were creating scripts on the database, and that was considered artificial intelligence for us. On the scripts in the database, anytime there were sudden changes on accounting system, financial system, an alarm would go off and say, hey, you know, you guys are overspending budget on this area here and this area here. We call that artificial intelligence in those days, and that was like 15 years ago, okay? So when I came to SBDC, I was one of the first ones to start experimenting with ChatGPT. Actually, I'm the one who opened his mouth, and they say, "Oh, you're in charge of that." so I heard about it, GPT on the radio, and I was telling one of the bosses there, I said, "Hey, you know, you heard about this? You can do this stuff." He said, "Oh, yeah, you're in charge now." So anyway, so what we did is as SBDC. As you know, SBDC has centers all over Alaska, and also we have over 1,000 centers across the United States. We're business advisors. We advise small businesses in different stages of business. We work for the government. We get grants from the state and the federal government. We're a nonprofit. And primarily, you just call, create an account with us, and we can help you in different stages of business. Now, because of the AI stuff, I started moving into trying to create what is called a business advisory model. Okay, and the business advisory model was going to be used for all of the other advisors to help us out solve some issues. Okay, I discovered early on that there was quite a few things that we were doing that they were taking a long time to do, and with AI, I can get it done in 5 seconds. You know, and that would be like analyzing business plans, like creating business models. Marketing. For marketing, you can use it a lot for marketing, things like that. So anyway, John, our executive director, told me to submit something to American SBDC for us to teach something about AI. It was a long shot. We figured, okay, whatever, you know. And we sent it and we got selected. So I have a team, it's myself and another director. We're both in charge of IA, and we have to a big presentation in the fall of this year to present to all of the other SBDCs across the states and see, you know, show how we were doing. So him and I, right now, we're using it on a daily basis every day because we need to test the model, you know.
That's great. Okay, and then Chris, can you introduce yourself?
Yeah. My name's Chris Blazer. I'm a fractional executive and advisor to startups, small and medium-sized businesses. my experience is mostly with businesses 200 and smaller. A lot of you know me in my role at TCM Restoration as part of the leadership and transition team there. They got bought out in December of 2021. And we're slowly incorporating with a nationwide portfolio of brands and doing a lot of the same stuff, implementing software systems, strategies, trying to figure out how these emerging technologies can create more efficiencies, optimizations, and help grow and assimilate all of these different disparate companies into one unified organization. As an advisor, done much of the same things, just for smaller businesses and startups, and identifying software solutions and finding, most people who have started and run a business know that you have to find whatever hammer works for the job that you have at hand. And sometimes you end up with a mishmash of different pieces of software and different solutions and strategies that don't necessarily fit well. I come in and I take all of those and put them into one whole cohesive package and make it work more seamlessly, more efficiently. And AI, as you know, is incredibly useful in making that even better than we've ever seen it. So.
That's so great. An overview of the AI landscape currently. So, what does it look like? What are the, that's right. What are the different platforms that are out there right now, so that someone who doesn't have any idea what's going on in AI right now kind of can get a grasp on what the framework is currently and where we're going. So Chris, do you want to start with that?
Sure, yeah. I would start with maybe how it's different, because you mentioned we've had this term AI for decades, really. People refer to lots of different things as AI, and broadly, you can define it as anything, any piece of technology that can pretend to or do something that a human would normally do in reference to knowledge or intellectual tasks. Automation and machine learning is kind of a different thing, but we won't go too deep into the technicalities of all of it. But AI, up until November of 2022, was pretty much just a broad term used to describe anything in business or software or otherwise that you can automate and you can get to do the heavy lifting where you don't have to do that anymore. And then November 30th, I believe, of 2022, ChatGPT was rolled out to the world. And we now have this interface, and it wasn't the first model. There are plenty of models before then, plenty of technologies that led up to it, but it was the first time that the world really was exposed to the ability to interface directly with an agent powered by a large language model, which is what a lot of people refer to as artificial intelligence. And now we have this ability to chat and have it generate pretty much anything your mind can conceive. And since then, almost it seems on a daily basis, we have these further iterations and revolutionary announcements, I would say. I mean, you hear one thing one day, and then you think, okay, now we've got to figure out how we're going to use this. And then the next day, something else comes out, and it's like, well, now what? And we were talking before the meeting a little bit about, you have Bard from Google, and Google kind of pioneered this GPT technology. It's generative pre-trained transformers, what that stands for. In 2017, they kind of coined the term, developed the technology, and open sourced it to the world because it's too powerful for any one organization to control, really. And I think most people see and accept that. And so now you have the bigger players in the scene, which is ChatGPT, which is backed by Microsoft. I think they have, roughly $15 billion invested in the organization at this point. You've got Bard from Google, which is another massive model that's rolling out. And then you have Microsoft developing their own tools. You've got several other providers that are out there. Facebook has Llama, and there's a lot of models out there, but I would say Bard, Microsoft, ChatGPT are the ones that are out there powering most of the innovation that's happening right now. So.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, and then what about where we're going? And it sounds like it's going at such a fast pace. Where do we put our as business owners as far as what the goal is for us?
Well, the way that we are doing it is we're creating a scope of the things that we want to accomplish with the artificial intelligence tools. At the moment, we're working with ChatGPT is our number one. We're working with version 4 right now. It just came out recently. You know, it started with 3.5. Now I moved into version 4 with the one that we're using. And also we're using with Bing, which is Microsoft artificial intelligence, and also Bard, which is also a Google artificial intelligence. So we're using those 3 in combination, but mostly GPT. Okay, we use Bing for something very specific, and I'll explain it here in a little bit. Okay, so we set a scope. What do we want to do with artificial intelligence? So if you're a small business owner, okay, what do I want to accomplish for my business with this tool, you know? Is it Bard better or ChatGPT? The best way to do it is just keep trying, just keep testing, keep getting the prompts ready, ask questions, you know, and see who gives you the best answers. For us, ChatGPT has been the best one so far. The answers that we want, it goes into a little bit more detail. It's more conceptual. It also has it generate ideas for our clients and things like that. We set the scope. This is what we want to do. Now, the scope is not going to be fixed. You're going to be able to grow the scope. But if you don't concentrate on certain things that you want to do, you're going to be all over the place, and you're going to be chasing all type of tools. You know, so start with something small, and then you can start expanding. At least that's going to be. It has been our experience right now, because we were doing the same. We were chasing AI for months. Every month was a new one coming out. All right, let's start working with that. But once we set up the scope, we started to focus on something. Now, how do we set up the scope? For us, is business stages of business cycle, life cycle, because our clients come to us in different cycles of the business, on different stages of the business. Some of them are just an idea, business idea. Another ones are in the startup already. They already know what they want to do, but they need help getting a business license, or they need help with the branding or the pre-marketing. Other clients are already mature. Some of them are early mature, you know, in their growth, okay? Other ones are exiting. You know, we have clients, I just helped last week a couple of clients. One wants an exit plan from their business, a small business. They want to sell their business, and they wanted to know if we had a plan for it. If there's something that we can help them with it. And artificial intelligence just gave us a beautiful plan on how to do that, you know. And then I had another client the same week who wants to sell his business in 10 years from now. And he created a plan based on the information that we gave DI. I would tell him, 10 years from now, this business wants to sell at this price, you know, at this valuation, you know, what do you recommend? And it actually gave us a really good plan, and the client loved it. So that's...
You use it as like an advisory tool.
Oh yeah, that's primarily that's what we're using it for. It's an advisory tool for our clients. At the moment, we're creating all type of outlines and plans, branding plans. We also use it to analyze. As an analyzing tool, it's pretty good. Business plans, you know, people need business plans to get access funding. So for example, we get a lot of clients that they have a business plan, and they said, this used to take us a long time, believe me, you know. They'll give you a business plan, they'll tell you, analyze it for me, you know, and recommend, you know, how I can fix it, okay? Now, analyze this for me means we have to read it, of course. You know? We have to read the whole thing, you know, and then try to figure it out, you know, where is missing information. Now I can grab something like that. If it comes in Word document or whatever, I can tell ChatGPT, analyze this business plan for me and make suggestions, feed it to the model, and it will give you a beautiful report at the end. You're missing this, you're missing this, you're missing this.
Wow, that's amazing. So cool. Okay, so as a business owner, so I'll be the first to admit that I am not usually up with the cutting edge technology. I'm not the first to develop or to implement a new technology. I'll usually kind of wait for it for a few years to be implemented and tested, and then, you know, use it for myself, right? So can business owners do that, Chris, and kind of wait for the kinks to get worked out? Or what is the downside to doing that?
I would say no. I think that's a bad decision. And people who are waiting right now and not interacting with these technologies are falling further and further behind. As I said earlier, by the day. Every day we have new things rolling out. And there are things that you can use without investing too much time and attention and energy and resources into learning them, and you don't have to pay for expensive suites of software. Like most businesses already use Google Workspace for their email, or Microsoft 365 for their email, or their entire productivity suite. Whichever one you use, Microsoft has Copilot completely woven through the entire suite of tools. Google has Bard woven through their entire workspace suite. And it's not available to everyone yet, but it's rolling out really quickly. And as quick as you can have access, you can join wait lists. And I'm a nerd, so I join all the wait lists, and I try and play with everything that I can play, which just to tickle my curiosities. And they're powerful. And I wouldn't say that they're revolutionary for business yet, but if you're not playing with them, you're already behind. And that's probably the most powerful thing that I would say to anybody with these technologies is if you're not using them now, you're already behind, and you should start today and learn and play and experiment as much as you possibly can. Like Carlos said, like just try the different models. Try generating a prompt and put it in Bard, put it in Bing, put it in ChatGPT, and try ChatGPT 3.5 and 4.0, and try it with this plugin, because now we have access to all of these wonderful tools. Experiment with it and find a use case if there is one for your business, and if there's not, keep trying, because you hear people say that AI is coming to replace us. AI is coming, and just this morning, Sam Altman and a bunch of other executives of these companies that are developing these technologies just came out with an open letter basically saying we have to do something to regulate this. We need to get some control on this because it could get out of hand if we don't. That being said, they're not going to stop developing it. The developers and the engineers in China and India and Brazil and everywhere else in the world isn't going to stop. So you have to get in it, you have to use it, you have to try it, and learn as much as you can, even if it's not entirely relevant for your business yet. Because like I said, AI is not going to replace you. A person who does your job with the complement of AI is going to replace you. And that applies to individuals, and that applies to businesses just the same.
Yeah. I agree with that. And also, we have something similar going on in SBDC. Trish uses it, but there's some other advisors that we have that say, oh no, either I'm going to wait until later to use it, or I don't want to deal with this right now. And the thing is that if they don't jump in this artificial intelligence and ChatGPT and all of that, they're going to be obsolete very quickly in the kind of work that we do, which is business advising. I can create more resources now faster than most of the other advisors just because of AI, pretty much, analyzing a business plan that can take hours, we can do it in seconds now, business models and things like that you can take anywhere between a half an hour to 1 hour to put together. We can do it like in seconds, So we keep telling the guys over there, you guys got to move with this, we all got to move fast, So I totally agree with that, yeah.
Yeah. Kind of going on the same lines of what you were talking about, Chris, is there is like a fear factor for a lot of people. So should businesses use caution when using it, and how? What way?
Absolutely. I just read an article about an attorney in New York that used a legal model to generate, I forget what it was now. Anyway, he generated a document, he submitted it to the court. Come to find out, so we have models now, ChatGPT and Bard, that have access to the live internet, and so they'll run whatever prompt or query you give them. They'll go out and they'll search the web, crawl the pages that they find, summarize those pages, bring them back, reassess, and then pursue further information if required, or come back and return the result to you as you asked. And this attorney submitted a document that he asked ChatGPT to generate, citations and all, citing previous court cases and precedent, and he submitted it to the court. Apparently didn't do his due diligence and fact check the document, and none of the citations that ChatGPT provided were actually real. There's a concept in AI called hallucination, where you have these models that'll confidently deliver you an answer, a result, and it sounds plausible. It sounds entirely like it could be totally legitimate, and sometimes it's not. And that's an unfortunate reality that we currently have in all of these models. Then there's a disclaimer at the bottom of ChatGPT, in Bard, in Bing, and all the others, that some of the information generated may or may not be correct.
So when it's crawling these pages, is it just any page that excuse me, anybody could put on the internet? So the page that it's crawling isn't necessarily fact checked.
Which, I don't want to go down the whole disinformation rabbit hole because that's messy, but that is a consideration as well, because these tools are equally powerful and destructive. And in the wrong hands, they can be leveraged to do pretty much anything you ask it to. And you have the capacity to string agents together and do a whole lot of complicated tasks automated with zero or little human interaction. As a business owner, use the tools, test it, experiment, and try and get out of it what you can. But do your due diligence. If you're a real estate agent, commercial, residential, or otherwise, and you're using ChatGPT to draft a contract, read the contract before you actually have somebody sign it and submit it. So I would say a good rule of thumb, it'll get you 80% of the way to what your goal is, but you still need to interact with it and moderate what it outputs. And something that I think we should talk about at some point today, I'll demonstrate it later as we have time, but prompt engineering, prompt crafting is arguably the most important skill and topic of discussion in this world. And if you take nothing else away from this conversation, at least become curious about how to articulate an effective prompt. Because the way you ask ChatGPT and Bard or any of these models what you want it to do will largely define its utility for you. If you say, write me an email about a dog, it's going to write you a terrible email about some generic dog, maybe. If you say, act as a groomer and write me an email catered toward pet owners about how I could do A, B, and C, whatever, and you articulate exactly what you want it to say and how you want it to say it and what tone you want it to say, then you're much more likely to get the result that you want. And experiment with those things, play with it, but don't trust it entirely.
So what I've done when I was preparing for this this meeting, for the invitations, I had it write the title of the meeting for me. But I had it do it in multiple iterations. So I first said, I can't remember exactly what I wrote, but write me a title for a business meeting where we're learning about AI. So it gave me some options, and I said, give me more options. So then it gave me more, and then I said, make it shorter. Yeah. So then it made me some shorter ones, and then I said, make it for business owners who don't know anything yet about AI. So I was able to really refine it, and it really was more of like a conversation that I was having with this bot. And then I did the same thing for the description of the meeting. I had it do multiple iterations for me and kind of refined exactly what I wanted and put it in the voice that I was looking for. And so anyway, that was kind of my that was my foray. But really, in the past month, since I've been getting this meeting going, I've really been trying to use it more often. And whenever I'm like, I wonder how I could solve this problem, I'll go into ChatGPT and ask it, and then I'll refine it again and have it really help me. So it's been kind of a fun process. So how else can someone that's new to AI kind of get their feet wet with it?
Well, just going back to what Chris said, prompting is extremely important. Okay, it's one of the number one tasks that myself and the other member, my other director, are working on is the right prompting. There's something that you got to understand how the models are trained to create the right prompt. So the models can be trained in three different categories. One category is where the model you know the input and the model knows the output. It knows the input and the output. Okay. So for example, if you want to purchase a house and you tell a model 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, this price range or whatever, that house already exists, on somebody's database or whatever, so you can go and get it and search it, and the answer comes back to you because it's already known. There's another one where the output is not known, but the output is known. That's what mostly ChatGPT is trained on that. So you are actually creating the output, okay? And this is what Chris was talking about, that it hallucinates because he doesn't know the output. Everything depends on the prompt, on what you're telling the artificial intelligence model what to do. So you tell him, I want this, and that. Goes out there and creates it for you, okay? But you always have to check the source. Now, I mentioned earlier that we're using 3 tools right now, which is Bing and that's ChatGPT. The way that we use, because for our business it's really important that we get this right. We cannot give, wrong answers or, tell clients the wrong thing. So what we've been doing lately is we get the information from ChatGPT, and then we go to Bing. Bing is live on the internet and all of that. And we tell Bing, we need a citation for this data, okay? And we create a prompt, we give the data that ChatGPT gave us, and Bing goes out there and gets the sources of the data. Then we review the sources, and then we find out if this comes from, John who lives in the basement, or if it comes actually from Forbes magazine or somebody who actually know what they're talking about. So, and what we do also in some of the tools that we give the clients, we give the source of the data that we gave them, so for them to make sure that they can check it, okay? And we leave it up to them. You want to use this? Here's the source. This is where some of this information was created, okay? So the way the model is trained, I think, is an important thing to understand prompt engineering, that's what we call,
Yeah, that's really helpful. Okay, can you both give examples of some different tasks that a business owner might be able to have AI perform for them, or at least help them perform, that maybe business owners hadn't thought of?
I'd say one quick one that comes to mind. A lot of people have this word chatbots.
Yeah.
That seems to be such a loose term thrown around for a lot of different applications. Most people who have a website have some chat functionality on their site. Previously, the chat function on your website is either a live text-based chat where it's sending a message to a person and they're responding in real time, or it's a scripted chat where you predefine, if somebody asks this, then say this. If it changes to this, then say that. So whenever you're interacting with a chat and it's an agent on the website, that's generally how it works. And you can usually go to a secondary or tertiary level of a conversation before a real person has to take over, because the script can't really handle the queries beyond that. Now we have dozens of chatbot tools now where you have a model that you can basically take, say you're industrial controls company or whatever. You can feed the model all of the manuals for every product that you sell. You can feed it your operations and training manuals for your employees. You can feed it your safety manuals. You can feed it every piece of information you can possibly think of that's relevant to your company and the things you sell and the services that you offer. The model will learn everything there is to know about those things. And so then you can create this customized, bespoke, trained chatbot for your website now that has every relevant piece of knowledge that a person could ever ask a person through the chat function on your website. They can query those documents and articles as they would on an FAQ or an index page or whatever on your website. Or they can chat where an agent previously would pick up where the scripting drops. The AI agent, now that you've trained on all your data, can now carry on that conversation in a meaningful way and hopefully lead them to some fruition and satisfy their query without having a real person take over that conversation. And then if there is a need for a person to still step in, then you can program that into it as well. But that's a pretty low-hanging piece of fruit for most businesses. Yeah. Fairly straightforward. Like maybe it sounds complicated to some people who haven't had experience with that, but it really is pretty low-hanging fruit for a business to implement that on their website pretty quickly and easily.
Yeah, we work with chatbots too. We have created some for, now ours are going to be, so you can have chatbots that interact with your database, with the CRM systems that you have, maybe with your social media interactions that you have. In our case, we don't have to go inside our database because most of the information that we are generating for clients is out there. So the chatbots that we are creating is we're concentrating on the type of prompting. It's a role play type of prompt that we use. Okay, you're an MBA expert in writing business plans. These clients are going to ask you questions. What is the cost of goods sold for a vegan food truck, for example? And it will give you a list and ideas of what is going to be the cost of goods sold, so they can implement it on the business plan. We already have created a few of those chatbots already for different areas. We're going to be, like I said before, we're going to be using those maybe next year in 2024 on our website, so clients can get in there and get some of the information. Frequently asked questions is another way to automate. Chris mentioned that. For that, primarily, is exactly what Chris said. You're gonna have to go inside and feed them your own data. That one we have to think about it because like I said before, we work for the government, so they got some strict rules. Now, when it comes to regular tools for business that we have created, I have a whole list here of things that we have done. For example, I've been helping a lot of clients with standard operational procedures. Okay, so you got a new business, a coffee shop. You've been working for yourself all this time. Now you're gonna have an employee, but you have nothing written down. No standard operational procedure for your business, or you're expanding. So you can create those for every unit in your business. Okay, like I said before, business plan analysis when you go and get some funding. Elevator pitches. I do those maybe 3 or 4 times per week. Clients call me all the time for those. Those are pretty easy. They got a new person is going to start selling their product. We write those for them. I just give you a few. So if you're starting a new business, for example, we will give you ideas for a logo and colors and the font to use, all depending on your business. That's incredible. This is a good one here. So business stage analysis. So you tell the AI in what stage is your business on right now. So if you're a startup or you're early growth or whatever, and you will tell the AI, okay, I'm been in business for 5 years. What should I expect? Okay, and it will tell you, oh, you're at this stage. Okay, at this time, you should start doing this, and that. So it'll give you a plan for growth, okay, based on where you are. And at the same time, it serves to you as a gap analysis, where it's like, okay, I'm missing this, and that, so you can start working with the IA and trying to get everything on target so you can actually do that growth that you want to do. But like I said, I have a whole list of things that we've been doing with clients.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Chris, do you have any other examples? So like marketing.
That's a lot, yeah.
I don't know, just operating business.
The AI that we're working with right now, it's generative AI. So it primarily the best use cases for it are content marketing. And I'll show a few tools later once we get on the demo if we still have time for that. But you can generate anything. I was playing with it the other day, and just as an experiment, I was like, okay, I have $1,000, I have 90 days. My skill set is A, B, and C. Generate a plan, market strategy, a target audience, generate 3 audience personas of how I can take and leverage that $1,000 investment and make over $10,000 recurring cash flow monthly by the end of 90 days. And it'll generate the entire plan for you. It'll tell you how to start, how to go about it, how to market it, who your target audience is, characteristics of that target audience, some strategies that you could potentially pursue to go after that target audience, and then give you a timeline on which you should roughly expect to execute those strategies and hopefully achieve the results.
Was it a good plan that it came
I haven't
up
executed it yet.
Oh.
It sounds pretty good to me.
with? Nice, that's awesome.
Maybe we'll try. Yeah, social media marketing, emails, you name it. I was just messaging with somebody before this who's currently, he's like, oh, you're speaking at this thing. I'm using ChatGPT for A, B, and C. I'm currently using it to write the copy for my website. What else can I use it for? I was like, the fact that you're doing that, you're ahead of most people. Again, proofread. Don't take it at face value, but use it for anything you can possibly think of, because there's use there. Again, we're also at a point where it's not completely trustworthy, and I want to put that out there, but that shouldn't be a reason not to use it. And I'm not bound by government oversight. I'm bound by some corporate oversight, but I like to move fast and break things and figure out what works and what doesn't as quickly as possible. I'm a big fan of failing forward and often, and the more you try, the more you fail, the more you learn, the faster you grow. And I think that's important in this topic of conversation, is to do as much as you possibly can, as fast as you possibly can, and figure out what the real applications are. So we are moving very quickly into an entirely different world, and most people aren't prepared for it. And I'm not an alarmist, I'm an optimist. I'm a die-hard optimist. But people need to prepare a lot faster and better than they are.
Amazing. So before we get on our demo here, so we've talked a lot about how AI can help us with more like language type things. Are there other things like graphics, or accounting, or like kind of these other parts of your business that don't necessarily have to do with written language.
Yeah. I mean, there's AIs right now. You can create a logo just using AI. As a matter of fact, I helped one of my clients create his own logo just by using artificial intelligence. You go to a special platform for that. I think it's DALL-E. I don't know if you play with that. DALL-E, I think it is. Yeah. And there's some specifically for images that you can use. I don't experiment much with those. We're totally into just the business part of it right now until we're done with our presentation. Then we'll be able to play with other things, But yeah, there is other ones that we had one that we used the other day. I think our administrator used it. It sent a robot into one of our video chat conferences. We didn't know who it was. We kicked them out at first because we didn't recognize it. And then they told me, "You guys got to let this person in." I go, "Who's this guy?" It's an artificial intelligence chatbot. So what we're doing is that it was actually doing the script of the whole conversation. So it was just writing everything down. It was recording and typing everything for us. So it would be a big script of the conversation and the presentation. But she learned to let us know first before she sent somebody to the presentation.
I just saw Microsoft Teams has that Copilot functionality built in now. So if you have a Teams web conference, it'll now identify the individual voice of every person participating. It'll create a transcript and automatically generate meeting notes of a Microsoft Teams conference. And it's like, what was a week ago, I mean, this is a few weeks ago at this point, but what was one thing yesterday is now just like, okay, well, that was yesterday. Now we have all these new technologies that just supersede what we already knew. And so, like, that's one use case, and it's already in the technology that we're using that we have.
And then we got an email last week too from, I think it was on Zoom, that now has, where was it? They use a specific name. So what it does is, like, if you're the person who's in charge of the conversation, you get a special panel with artificial intelligence, and it's measuring by the tone of their voice who's getting bored, what brought the conversation up. So it will tell you, talk more about puppies, because it seems like everybody's happy when you talk about that, for example, So it's measuring in real time, what's going on in the conversation, but from an emotional.
Is it a lie detector?
I don't know.
Not yet.
We decided not to do that. We don't know where we're going to do that.
That's what's crazy too, and as part of the conversation, I think it's important to look forward a little bit. Like, even though we're not there yet, it's still very expensive to train these models. You're looking at an order of $500,000 to $50 million, depending on the size of the model and the data set that you're feeding it. It's really expensive. A typical Google search historically is about 2 cents is what it costs Google in compute and server space. A ChatGPT, every question that you ask, you're looking at 36 cents of compute, which is why even on GPT Plus, they limit you to 23, 25 queries per conversation. Otherwise, it would just get too expensive for the amount that they're charging. I mean, they charge you 20 bucks a month. It's not going to cover all of their costs. And when you get, that's just text-based agent interaction. When we get to the image processing that you're talking about through DALL-E 2 or Midjourney, most of them have a free tier that you can test it out. But beyond that, you get into these multimodal generative models where it's images and video now, it becomes exponentially more expensive. And it's still prohibitively expensive for most organizations to provide that at scale. But we can play with it, and it, like everything, it's coming quickly. It's coming down in cost rapidly. It's changing the way that businesses are funded. Capital allocation strategies are changing. And when venture capitalists previously would look at, how many heads they're going to have to account for in order for a startup to get off the ground and what the runway is, where previously it was going to be 50 people to start. Now you're looking at a team of 4 or 5 people, maybe could do what the work of 50 did previously. That completely changes the capital structure and how much money is required to get a business off the ground. And those are considerations that maybe aren't real yet, but they're going to be real very quickly. And it's exciting to me to see the potential of these technologies. You see the possibility of multi-agent interactions, and not to get too nerdy or anything, but imagine having your phone, and instead of going on your phone and opening an app to do a specific thing, you just have a universal, ubiquitous, artificially intelligent interface that's attached to all of these data points and the internet, and it can code. We didn't even talk about coding. Like, you don't really need to know that anymore. I mean, it's good to know, but if you can tell your AI, hey, I need an app that will help manage my social media for me, I need it to do this, 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 and this, and it will write it for you on the fly, the entire definition of software as a service and application structures changes. And we're far from that, but we're also moving very quickly toward it. And, that's even over my head to some degree. So it's important to start kind of getting your feet wet and learning about some of these things, and be excited about it, because as scary as it may be, and as apocalyptic as some people may make it sound, it's also exciting, and I hope and believe that it's a net positive for humanity. So.
Great. Okay, let's get a little demo going. Chris is going to show us a few of the applications.
So, I asked Jenny earlier if I could run an experiment with a prompt to create a real estate agent bot. So, okay if I do that?
Yeah, as long as you don't make me look obsolete, then yes,
Well,
you can.
We'll stick with residential. Real estate. Actually, you know what I'm going to do? I pre-did it here. Sorry. This is a prompt from a website called Ordinary People Prompts. It's not my favorite website, actually. I'll show you guys a few here in a little bit of some other sites that I use for prompt assistance. If you aren't an expert at writing your own prompts and you want some help with that, there are lots of tools that you can use where you basically just plug in the details and it'll articulate a highly effective prompt for you to plug into your favorite tool. And this here that you saw was basically those things built into ChatGPT as an extension. I have that one and then another one over here. So we put that in here. We're going to change it because I don't have the Redfin plugin, nor do we use Redfin here. We're just going to stick with the Zillow plugin. And then it sets all of the rules, telling it that you are now REAB, the Real Estate Agent Bot, a name that is an acronym for Real Estate Agent Bot. You'll be using Zillow ChatGPT plugin to find the real estate property. And then all of these other rules stating the characteristics of the bot. We create this, we tell ChatGPT that that's how we want it to act, as long as my internet connection doesn't fail. Here we are. What would you like assistance with? Are you interested in buying, selling, or managing property? Or do you have a home or request others? I would like to find a home in Palmer, Alaska. That is 4-bedroom, 3-bath.
So this is not just a chat, this is actually a bot that you created. Is that right?
It's a chat, but you're telling ChatGPT you want it to act as if. I don't know if you can see on there, but it's querying the Zillow data set now, finding properties that meet the criteria that I outlined. That's pretty difficult to see, but you can also use this as an agent. So if you have a property that meets that criteria that you want to list, there are scripts within Prompt GPT, Prompt Storm, or some of the other tools where you can basically just input the details of the property and you tell it exactly what you want. I want to generate a listing for Zillow, and it needs to be less than 500 words. I want it to have these characteristics, and it'll spit it out for you. As you can see, it's not entirely accurate, like we said. Like, it meets the criteria. One of these is less than an acre, which it doesn't meet my criteria, but sometimes there's limited inventory, as we know right now. So, one example of how it can be used. And you can take this 25 queries into that conversation and go deeper, and the bot learns from you as you interact from it. I should call it an agent, not a bot, because it's not technically a bot, even though it's acting like one. One of the sites that I like to go to find new tools, again, this is one of those things that updates every day. It's called futuretools.io. Another one is Product Hunt. right here. But Future Tools is specific to these AI tools and plugins and different resources that are being developed, and it's crowdsourced information, so people vote on what is most and least useful, and they'll upvote it. So I come in here and I sort by newest, and you can see the newer tools that come out. If you want to get a feel for something, say you want to find all the prompt guides to help you articulate a prompt to put into your agent chat. You can sort it by prompt guides. I changed it to most upvoted, so these are the ones that most people have said are useful for them. And you go in here and you can find a tool for pretty much anything. One that's great is Prompt Pal right here. As you can see, you can choose a category of whatever you want to prompt. If you want to do for startups, startup idea generator. You know what would be a cool one to do is the one that I mentioned earlier. Start a new chat, go into GPT-4, connect it to Bing, and we'll go business, ideas and brainstorming. Here's the one that I mentioned earlier. Let's see what it does here. If our skill set is, because you mentioned accounting, and marketing, why not? So this is asking it, as a successful serial entrepreneur, what would you do if you had to start over with just $1,000 to build a business? Skill set is accounting, finance, marketing. What actionable steps would you take in the first 91 days to have it be generating $10,000 per month after the 91st day? So the same one that I mentioned earlier. As you see, it goes through, and you probably can't see all of that, but it's basically articulating how to identify the business opportunity, everything you would need to do basically in days 1 through 10, 11 through 20, 21 through 30, 31 through 60, and on and on and on and on. Without going over too much, this is one of the chatbot tools that I mentioned earlier. An example they have here is for Strava. I don't know if any of you use Strava, the exercise app. This is the fully functioning bot that they use in the app and on their website, where it's been trained on all of their help docs, all of their guides, and they'll help you with all of that. Tailwind is another tool, a marketing tool. And so what we mentioned earlier, it's being woven into everything. Every tool that you possibly can use is going to have AI bundled into it, woven into the very fabric of its code base, and it's going to change the way that those tools are used. Tailwind is a popular social media management and marketing app. They've gone from that to now they have an AI labs section on Tailwind. Great tool if you've never checked it out and you like managing social media or not managing social media and you want a bot to do it for you. They have a marketing advisor chatbot, kind of like what Carlos was talking about, having a business advisor. These chatbots are everywhere, and some are trained on different sets of data. Like you guys probably have some proprietary data that no one else has access to, that you can train your models on, where the SBDC can provide a service that maybe somebody else couldn't because of their decades of business and startup information that they can feed into their model. And that's the gold rush, is you see all these companies that are buying startups and other organizations, and everybody says they're buying them for the data, their data aggregation, data consolidation. Like this is now a glimpse into why that's been happening for the last couple of decades. So you have an advisor, you can talk about your marketing strategy. What are 10 creative ways to grow my e-commerce business? What are 5 ideas for social media posts to promote a 20% off sale, and anything else you can think of. And then in Tailwind, they have individual examples where it'll do that for you. So if you have a YouTube video that you're trying to venture into the world of video marketing on YouTube, it'll help you write your tagline in a catchy way. It'll help you write the caption. It'll even write scripts for your video if you want or need it to do that for you. Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram, anything that you really need, it'll do it here. You can schedule it. You can automate it. I was going to show a video I don't think we have time though, quick 60-second video of Google and how they're bundling this into Google Ads. Who here advertises on Google? Anyone? Probably nobody. But if you do, you can go into Google Ads now and it'll create the images for you. It'll turn those into a video. It'll write the copy for your ad. It'll create an AI-generated voiceover for your copy, and you can translate it to, I think, 15 different languages so far. And you can have it spoken in English, Spanish. You can have it a male, female, accent, no accent. And you can do all of these things from within Google Ads, which most businesses are using that as a technology. And they're also doing it in a way that is super accessible. You don't really need, like, if you're paying somebody to do your marketing for you, they're going to be using these tools. If you can't afford as a startup and you don't have the budget to pay for a marketer, learn how to use these tools because they're accessible and they're highly effective for most anything you'd want to do. Here's another one just to show that it's in everything. Hootsuite's another social media. They've got Owly Writer. It's their AI model and companion. Buffer's another one. They've got theirs. Jasper is a copy generation tool that's beautiful. If I was recommending things to start when it comes to marketing, you can do most anything with ChatGPT. You can do most anything with Bard or Bing, but these tools are tailored for the purpose that they are said to be used for. This is marketing, brand content, and the way that they articulate prompts and interact with the models that they're woven into, it's just more nuanced and specific to that use case. It's a paid service, so ChatGPT is free. You want to do it manually, try ChatGPT. If you want to have it a little bit easier and spend a little bit of money and make it simpler for yourself, try Jasper. Another one is Copy AI, same thing. HubSpot's a major CRM solution. It's completely end-to-end integrated marketing platform for sales and customer management and relationship management. They're putting AI into every facet of their suite of tools. This is a higher level solution for some bigger organizations, but it's incredible. And I've implemented and advocated for HubSpot for years. And to see these tools coming now just makes it that much more of a compelling solution to the businesses that we can serve or the businesses that we start and run. Same thing for Salesforce. Everybody knows, most people know Salesforce. I won't say everybody knows Salesforce. It's the biggest CRM that exists in the world today. They have Einstein GPT that they're bundling. It's a bespoke AI model that they're building into all of their suite of tools. And then we know Microsoft too. They've got Copilot. They've got their designer, their generative image creation tools, all sorts of stuff. And these are rolling out, like I said, daily. Google just had their I/O conference, which is a developers conference, last week. And they announced all these really cool things. It was revolutionary and mind-blowing. And then the very next day, Microsoft came back and everybody's like, oh yeah, Google is ahead. We know that Google has been developing this. We know they're the best. And then Microsoft comes back out with everything the very next day, and they announced Fabric and this massive analytics platform and Copilot and all of these really cool tools. It's like, okay, and now it's integrated with ChatGPT. And it's just, there's so much, but it's also accessible. So I don't know how much more meaningful of a demonstration I could do with the time that we have, but I would just say, like Carlos said, create an account on OpenAI, start using ChatGPT, learn how to articulate some prompts, and reach out. If you have any questions, I think Carlos would probably be as willing as I am to have a conversation. I love talking about this stuff. It's fascinating, it's exciting, and it's extremely impactful in all of our lives, whether we think it is or not. So.
Awesome.
My personal opinion, I have some radical views on some things, but I think, like I said earlier, AI is not going to replace you. It's not going to replace your accountant. An accountant that uses AI is going to replace you if you're not. I'm a marketer. AI is not going to replace me. Somebody who uses AI will replace me. And that's kind of, you look at it that way, that you still have to have the education and the understanding and the know-how to leverage these tools to your advantage. You need to know the tools. You need to know if you're a developer developing software, or if you're an artificial intelligence developer and you're building these models that power these things, you still have to know the code that underpins all of it. You can get a Copilot in GitHub or somewhere else to help you write that code, but if you don't understand it, then you won't have the ability to execute the moderation required in order for that code to actually be deployed. Same thing for an accountant or an attorney, or there are studies now that are showing that medical professionals are falling behind machine learning and vision models that can identify certain conditions faster and more accurately than any physician can. And that doesn't mean doctors are going to go away. It just means that that's going to augment their ability to perform better and more accurate procedures and diagnoses and other things. And if in medical school they're not integrating these AI technologies and teaching doctors how to leverage those things, then they will be replaced by someone who does. And that's scary, but it's also, I guess that's part of a conversation worth having, that things will change. There will be economic consequences as a result of this. And as business owners, that's important to consider. Like I mentioned with the way we start and run businesses, that it's, previously takes a team of 50, now we can do it with a team of 5. What do the rest of those people do? And I'm not going to pretend that I have any of those answers. I don't know, maybe Carlos wants to chime in on that, but OpenAI as an organization that's driving this change largely, they've invested more resources than anyone in history in the largest UBI study in the history of mankind, universal basic income. Not saying that that's the solution, but they're funding it to find out if that could be part of a solution to this massive crater in our economy that they're creating by generating these technologies. So.
Well, that's a great segue into my closing, because I was going to say this is kind of a really basic overview we wanted to have today, and I'm hoping that in the future, these meetings, we will go into more depth and kind of talk more about implementing this, because it's changing so fast that we got to keep up on it. So be looking for invitations in the future about more AI implementation. And let's give our speakers a big round of applause for joining us today.